Okay, this is my second take out here. Got the microphone all set up. Plane is good to go. Hopefully we capture some good footage. Some pretty good lift today. So I have a GoPro on my hat. I've got narrow field of view set up, so hopefully objects in the distance look bigger. So anyways, this is the Conscendo 1.5 meter aircraft. And I bought it from Horizonhobby. It was like 130 bucks. You have to have your own transmitter, own receiver, and then you have to buy the battery. But I've been flying it for probably like 2 weeks now, almost every day, just kind of for fun. Battery lasts a super long time. I'm getting like, I mean, you can fly it for an hour and there's still 70 or 80% charge left, as long as you don't use the motor. I usually will bring a chair out here if I know I'm going to be out here for a while. But it's a great aircraft. I mean, it's better when there's a lot of wind, you know, because you can kind of be more aerobatic with it, and the plane gets faster, as you can see. But there's really good lift right out in front of me. But man, yeah, I mean, I can't really complain at all. I had a Apprentice 15S before this, and that was a great plane. Basically crashed it one too many times, and other people crashed it whom I let it who I loaned it to. And so anyways, that basically was crashed so hard that the tail vertical stabilizer broke in the air. So it cracked at one point, and then while I was flying it, it broke off mid-air. Lost control of the plane, crashed it, and so yeah, it was time to get a new plane. It was pretty much beyond repair. So anyways, I liked to try and glide that a lot. I would just take it up to a lot of altitude at a park, cut the motor, and then try and glide around. So the reason I decided to get this plane, besides my other plane crashing, was I wanted to kind of get into slope soaring, and because I still like acrobatic stuff, but a lot of the electric planes, the battery doesn't last very long. But slope soaring, these batteries last a really long time, and they can get to be pretty freaking fast if you're in the right conditions. But I just did a review of this. I just wrote it out on Horizonhobby where I bought it. I mean, I'd give it 5 out of 5 stars, if that makes sense. First glider, and I mean, it does really good job. It's got ailerons, obviously, so you have a good amount of control. No flaps, but I mean, for 129 bucks, it's really tough to complain. The receiver I have in it is a Spectrum, like AR600 something, and it's antenna-less. So the receiver goes in the bottom of the plane, but I have a Spectrum DX8, and it tells me that I'm losing signal if I go far enough away, which is odd because it should be able to go like as far as you can see it. So that's a little weird. I've never lost signal with it, but it's warned me a couple of times. One of my complaints I have about the plane actually doesn't come from flying it or anything. It's from assembling it, and it does not come with the connector for the ailerons, because each aileron servo has a wire, and you need this Y connector. It takes both aileron wires into one, and then you plug that into the receiver. So thankfully, I still had my other broken up plane flying around. The Apprentice, that had ailerons on it, so I took that Y connector off and put it on this one, but otherwise it wouldn't come with it. And then you'd just get your new plane, and you'd have to buy like another piece just to like get it working. So that's kind of important. They don't say that you need to buy that, but I was like, I'm not going to plug each aileron into a different channel. That doesn't make any sense. So they're both ailerons to one channel, but it does not come with that piece. But I've probably got, I don't know, I mean, really, honestly, in the past 2 weeks I've had this, 2.5 weeks, I've probably got over 10 hours of flight time. But yeah, my big thing was like when I first got into this, focus on using a lot of rudder, and rudder's good and ailerons are good too. I mean, it just depends on kind of like what you're doing with it. I always incorporate rudder into pretty much all of my turns now though, which I didn't used to before. I had someone ask me on a Facebook forum what I thought of it, and another short kind of thing to say about it is that after a few months, if you do it a lot, I'm probably going to be moving up to a carbon glider at some point, just because I don't know, I've been in pretty high wind with this, and it's still a styrofoam plane. I mean, it's got the carbon spar across the wings and the rudder, across the wings and the rudder, so that it keeps that part pretty stable. The body of the plane is still just styrofoam, so if you really start catching a lot of speed, then I mean, you don't want the plane to fold in on itself or anything, because these gliders can get going wicked fast. And actually, I haven't tried dynamic soaring it yet, because where I'm at, kind of in this bowl, there is power lines behind me. They're like 100 yards or maybe 200 yards out, but I mean, once you start, you know, if you start dynamic soaring and the plane starts going like 50 plus miles an hour, it starts to cover quite a bit of ground quite quickly. Full throttle motor, level out. One of the great things about this plane as well is having that motor. It's totally overkill for this plane, I can tell you. Like, you can just, you know, go straight up, straight vertical, and it will not stall. And I got the 1300 milliamp 3S 20C LiPo battery. Charges, you know, in an hour or less, depending on how many amps you give it. But man, the motor is like, I mean, if you get in trouble, I mean, it'll just keep pulling and pulling and pulling. I mean, yeah, no issues with that. So you can totally take it to a field, launch it way up with the motor, use 10 seconds of full power, and you could be up there for a pretty long time. See if I start diving it here and then doing like some loops. Be more aerobatic with it. It's a great plane. I mean, I basically, you know, I have no complaints about it flying it. I just had to trim it a little bit. So it felt a little nose heavy at first. The battery compartment is right in front. I was adjusting some things with that. But you slide the battery all the way in, kind of Velcro it down, and I mean, you're good to go. Yeah, it's tons of fun.